Hello listeners, and welcome back to ND 5.18. And as always, I'm your host, Ender. Welcome to another edition of our player archetype videos. And I'm trying to get these out more and more. Now, there's just a few more out there I want to hit, and then I'll move on to another subject material. Now, the fun police. Place I'm spotlighting, I did the right thing. This is summarized by Embargo, a 3 in the blue enchantment that says non-land permanents don't untap during their controller's untap steps. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 2 life. Does a whole lot with very little dissonance for you. The other card is Fevered Visions, 1 blue, 1 red, enchantment, states at the beginning of each player's end step, that player draws a card. If the player is your opponent and has 4 or more cards in hand, Fever Visions deals 2 damage to him or her. Once again, incremental damage. Also, you're helping people understand. There's a little bit of punishment for what they're doing. To be part of the FPD, the Fun Police Department, you need to establish a series of checks and balances at your table. And then let the table know they can only get worse unless you play correctly. Now, what's the correct way to play? That's up to you. Well. Welcome, cadet, to the FPD. Now, they are the self-appointed, mostly holier-than-thou player that plays God at the table. You are there to acknowledge what they have established and follow the tradition. And boy, oh boy, they are some class acts, I'll tell you that. That was sarcasm. These 4 cards here are prime examples of what they get up to at the academy. First one, Grand Abolisher. During your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. And when it's their turn, you know your place. We have a 3 in the black world enchantment that says, whenever a player plays a spell, counter it unless its controller pays 3. Third card, Soulless Jailer. 2 mana, artifact creature, colorless. Permanent cards in graveyards can't enter the battlefield. Players can't cast non-creature spells from graveyards or exile. We can keep this in the black and white here. Nothing extra. And the third one is Arcane Laboratory. 2 in a blue enchantment. Each player cannot play more than 1 spell each turn. Now, white also has plenty of these, but I wanted to showcase the blue side of it. Get it? Because FPD. Fundamentally, these are the lowest form of the Fun Police. And it only ticks up from here. My friend, what are you doing? You're going too fast. Too fast. Take your time. Pull back. Come on. Take your foot off the gas. We're here to join and play this game together. You don't need to be doing all that extra stuff. Bring it on back. Now, the light touch is how the FPD can still, participate in the games. That's why they don't get hated out so fast. But it takes nuance to know when it is a light touch and when you're doing the most. Now, these 4 cards right here, I consider them light touches. Some people consider them too much already. Takes nuance at your table here. The first card here, Doorkeeper Thrall. 1 in a white creature with flash and flying. Artifacts and creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. All those ETBs people got going, you don't need to do all that. Those Portal to Phyrexia, that Esper Pixies bounce deck, Doorkeeper Thrall stops all that right there. You gotta slow that down. Then we have Fate Spinner. 1 and 2 blue, Human Wizard. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player chooses draw step, main phase, or combat phase. The player skips each instance of the chosen step or phase this turn. Make them choose how they're going to slow their roll, before you have to shut their mouth. Our third card, Opposition Agent. Now, this is a game changer card on the bracket system. I don't think it should be, but that's my personal take. 2 in the black with Flash, Human Rogue. You control your opponent while they're searching their library. While an opponent is searching their library, they exile each card they find. You may play those cards for as long as they remain exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast them. Great card. It's search hate. There's not enough of that. These green players are here ramping too much. These people looking for combo pieces, they doing too much. Pull over. A flash lights, you gotta pull over, man. And our last card, 1 green enchantment. Root Maze. Artifacts and lands come into play tapped. Short, sweet, to the point. The ultimate, gotta put a stop sign up on you. Kids crossing the road. Now, if there's one thing that every FPD officer gets tired, we get so tired of, is telling people to stop resisting. I am helping you. They are the self-proclaimed hero at the table. They're like, can't you see by removing your combo piece and his creature at the same time, I'm keeping the game going? I'm keeping everything fair. That board wipe was well timed. No, it didn't throw off the balance. No, I couldn't let that piece stay. Don't you know it was too strong, man? We gotta make sure everyone's at the same power level. They just hamstringed you and then tried to help you up. Because one thing the FPD is known for handling hostage situations with the utmost care. And they do this with cards like these 4. The first card, Archon of Valor's Reach. 4, a green and a white. Flying, Vigilance, and Trample on a 5/6 body. As Archon of Valor's Reach enters the battlefield, choose Artifact, Enchantment, Instant, Sorcery, or Planeswalker. Planeswalkers can't cast spells of the chosen type. If that's not locking it down, I don't know what is. Beside it, we have Rising Waters, 3 in the blue, enchantment. Lands don't untap during their controller's untap steps. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player untaps a land he or she controls. See that pressure? You feel the water rising? Gotta stay ahead of it, man. Got to. On the other side of that, we have Stoneshaker Shaman, 2 in a red. At the end of each player's turn, that player sacrifices an untapped land. You are going to play this game the right way. None of that instant stuff, none of that playing around on other people's turns. The law is the law. Remember that. And then our final card is Crawlspace, a 3-mana artifact. No more than 2 creatures can attack you each combat. I don't know why they fighting the law anyway, right? You gotta remove every active threat you see. And there's a whole bunch of threats at this table. And finally, it's time for the FPD to stop pretending. They were never the good guys. They only said they were. Because just like any judicial system is broken, their slap on the wrist philosophy only shows the corruption. And when it's time to show who's the real boss, when it's time to lock it down, these are just some of the tools that they use. Number 1, propaganda. 2 in the blue enchantment. Creatures can't attack you unless that controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you. Stony Silence. 1 in the white enchantment. Activated ability of artifacts can't be activated. Stranglehold. 3 in the red enchantment. Your opponents can't search their libraries. If the opponent will be getting an extra turn, that player skips their turn instead. And number 4, Silent Arbiter. 4 colorless mana. No more than 1 creature can attack each combat. No more than 1 creature can block each combat. Hey, rules are rules, right? Questions to ask them and yourself. Number 1 for them, why are you attacking me? I'm helping all of us. I'm trying to teach you how to gaslight y'all. Number 2, does anyone else have an answer? Number 3, do you think Richard Garfield would approve of this? Now, you don't have to say these exact questions, but you should have your political chops warmed up to play. And ask yourself, are you looking for a more technical or thought-provoking type of game? What caused you to join the FPD? I want you to hold on to that, okay? So that's going to be the thing that's going to help you steadily get better at this archetype. Number 3, how much force are you bringing to the table? Now, I'm not saying let your chair these people, but I am saying, sometimes they need to be put away for a little bit. But it's your mind state that's going to help you with your policing. Well, cadet, it's time for the risk assessment. On strengths, we have a greater understanding of the game and its layers. Trust me, to be part of this force, you need to know all the laws. Number 2, pure control, allowing you to dictate the actions of all involved in the game. You don't have to worry about people making silly decisions because you make the decisions for them. Number 3, pride in knowing that the uniform is pristine, and you can always increase the levels of the law. As for weaknesses now, an overwhelming amount of information must be considered. If you make one mistake, it can cost you the game. That goes along with it. With great power comes great responsibility. Number 2, for weaknesses, people hate being limited and controlled, so they may be unreasonable. That's why you got to start light. Just add a little bit of restriction here, a little bit of extra thought here, right? Before steadily increasing it. Everyone's tolerance level is different. And when they fight back, you need to show them that you are going easy on them. Number 3, people hate lawkeepers. They can't stand us. Please know that joining this force is joining a brotherhood. And knowing that only fellow FPD officers can understand the pain and the sacrifices that you've taken to uphold the law at your table. Because it is a thankless job. Now it's time for tips and advice. First tip here, give your opponents enough rope to hang themselves with their terrible decision making. That means, and I know this is going to hurt some of you, sometimes you have to let the person combo off. Sometimes you have to let the stompy player win. That does not mean that that's the norm. It just means that sometimes you have to let the people know. When you get hated out of a game, or when people team up against you and stuff, knowing that you have a piece that's stopping someone else from winning, but they don't see that anymore. They just see you as a threat. Sometimes you say, you know what? I won't stop you from winning. Go for it. And eventually, they will understand that what they're doing is outrageous. That will not stop them from still focusing you, though. Do not think this will breed some type of intellectual raising from them. No, they will just see you as the player who is stopping them from having fun. But you need to accept that for you, that sometimes I'm not going to be the big boss man. Sometimes I'm going to let them skate with a warning. The next game, lock them down harder. That's the first tip. Number 2, permanent base restrictions are better, yet they draw the most ire. Look at the 4 cards I have here on this slide. And look at all the cards that you've seen so far. All of them are permanent based. I refuse to show you the instants and sorceries and temporary versions of these abilities because I want you to know the best forms is the hard law. Okay? That's the best form to establish a fun police presence. Number 3, never be afraid to put the table on lockdown. Never be afraid to. Things are getting out of hand. You aren't respecting the law, or you're just having a bad day. Sometime, max it out. You may lose. You may get focused out. Doesn't matter. You got to play your game. And for all of you officers out here, I know you can at least lock it down for 3 turns. If you want to see how strong your fun police deck is, just look through it and see if you can find a 3-turn lock of every player at the table. And that's how you'll know. Use that to gauge it. Now, here are some great cards that I think more players, more officers especially, should play. For 1 in the blue, Mana Maze. Players can't play spells that share a color with the spell last played this turn. Second card, Dosan, the Falling Leaf, in green. 1 and 2 green. Players can play spells only during their own turns. Then we have, for 2, white, the blue, and the black, the Sin Triplets, a legendary artifact creature, 3/3. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose target opponent. This turn, that player can't cast spells or activate abilities, and plays with their hand revealed. You may play lands and cast spells from that player's hand this turn. And finally, we have 2 and a black, Contamination, black enchantment that states, during your upkeep, sacrifice a creature or sacrifice Contamination. Whenever a land is tapped for mana, it produces black instead of its normal type and amount. Those are 4 cards that can let you lock it down. Well, listeners, thank you for tuning in yet again here at Indy 5.18. And as always, I have been your host, Ender. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe here at the channel and to share. I hope you all have enjoyed this latest edition of the Player Archetype series. As I stated earlier in the beginning, I will be finishing this up shortly, and if I come across any others, I'll make sure to add it retroactively as well before exploring into other types of series. Remember to live your best life and be well, listeners. Goodbye.